level boosting, and most of all paid level boosts. They suck, and I will detail why in a short amount of time, including why the very logic behind a paid level boost is like getting paid for not being able to train your workforce. You got paid because you didn't want to do any actual work. It's a great deal for the developers. The fact that players even have to purchase a paid level boost speaks to a larger problem of the industry though. Before I get into why paid level boosts suck, I'd like to thank this video's sponsor, GameRam. GameRam is a platform that allows you to exchange gamer IDs with your friends or other players and make new friends to then game with. It also keeps you updated on what your friends are playing and allows you to showcase what game you're playing and your gaming sensibilities. I like to think of it as like a social media platform for gamers. Even if you play on mobile, PC, or console, you can still share your cool moments using GameRam. What classifies as a cool moment? Maybe showing off your achievements, unique loot, characters, or even just a map that you got to. If you're not currently finding other players to play with, or friends to showcase what you play with, then look no further, for GameRam is the platform for you. It's really easy to join too. All you have to do is just download the app using the link in the description for your iOS device or your Android device, and then you can stay in touch with your friends using the app. Thank you again to GameRam for sponsoring this video. Without further ado, let's talk about why paid level boosts suck. Ironically, this is one of the few times the virtual world space can't blame monetization on a different market adapting to the West. In fact, the Western market is one of the biggest proponents of level boosting, and there's a reason for that. The Western and Eastern markets overall have different focuses, and though many games will cross over to each market, and sometimes even be more popular in another market altogether. Like Final Fantasy XIV, for example, which is a Japanese online RPG that is widely more popular in the West than it is the East. The reason this is significant, because basically no other Japanese or Korean online RPG or MMO has level boosting or level boost, but Final Fantasy XIV does. Instead, Korean titles and Japanese titles have experience boosts, which can aid you in your journey to max level, but not a straight up level boost. This makes level boosting pretty much uniquely Western. Lord of the Rings is arguably one of the first users of level boosting, going as far back to 2013, right before Blizzard actually debuted their level boost in World of Warcraft. WildStar would follow, as many other titles then would later on follow as well, like Final Fantasy XIV, we just mentioned, Elder Scrolls Online, and finally Star Wars: The Old Republic. Why does the Western online RPG market have level boosting, and how does the Western market differ from the Eastern market? Largely speaking, MMORPGs are created in one market in the East, Korea. Every now and then you'll get a Japanese online RPG that will rise to fame and prominence, like Phantasy Star Online or Final Fantasy XIV. But really in the East, as people defined it, it's Korea. And Korean MMOs, grinding and long-term progression are staples. As such, this led to the rise of a microtransaction-based market which could aid in your attempts at progressing further. The thing is though, is that in Asian culture generally, paying for something and not being able to afford it is not really frowned upon. What is giving somebody status for free without them earning it. Sure, it's one thing to grind to max level, then spend lots of money to be cool, but in Korean MMOs you don't see skipping to max level because part of the online RPG experience for Korean players is very much the power gain on your way to the top. And since the item marketplace in Korea is regulated essentially by the government because it's illegal to sell black market goods, it seems to make more money to monetize someone's journey to the top versus just letting them buy it outright. In Western MMOs, it is far more prominent because oftentimes the majority of the game is at the endgame portion. In Western MMOs, grinding to max level is usually a trivial affair, more so meant to vaguely teach you how to play the game. Western MMOs focus heavily on large expansions that vertically expand the power level and power scope of the game. This also lends itself more to wanting to get to the end of the game so you can get to the most powerful stuff that comes from the new content. Some expansions even include a level boost with them, allowing you to essentially start at the level the expansion content requires you, which is pretty handy. And it's harder to complain about it in that case, because that's the whole premise from the player's perspective. And it's why level boosts are enjoyed and not minded as much, because of convenience. Because when buying the new expansion, you can just boost your character if you don't already have one, or maybe you just want to try something new. For existing players, it's perfect because they don't want to redo the lackluster early game leveling in many cases, especially multiple times. For newer players, this puts pressure on them to either conform and pay for a level boosted character, skipping the entire early game experience, and in many cases making them a worse player, or suffer through whatever content is available at the lower levels. This brings me to my next point. Why are players so willing to skip this content, even existing players, that takes place in the early halves of the game? Well, because the leveling experiences and early game story experiences and the starter zones just suck, simply put. When you take a look at some iconic Western MMOs known for having amazing early game experiences, this problem kind of becomes completely moot. For example, Warhammer Online, one of my favorite MMOs of all time, had arguably the best early game experience in the history of MMOs. It held your hand and taught you how to explore and play in the game through public questing in the zones. It had tremendous lore from Warhammer to explain what was going on and why everything mattered, had a decent amount of challenge baked into it, and allowed you to PvP nearly right away as a factional-based PvP game. Warhammer Online's early game experiences were so coveted that people remade characters constantly just to keep them in Tier 1, which was the first tier in the game. Buying a level boost in the case of Warhammer Online would completely rob you of that experience, which is arguably one of the best in the game. So then why would a developer sell a level boost? What's in it for them besides just the money? The real reason that I hate level boost is that it signals the death of something else entirely. Something dear to my heart, something crucial to every online game, the early game experience. Early game experiences didn't just consist of giving you as many abilities as possible and moving you along faster than you can even acclimate to things. The point of a role-playing game is to slowly introduce new obstacles and tools to deal with those said obstacles. The varying levels of speed of such are arguable, naturally. But the reason online RPGs tend to be on the slower end is that they were trying to mimic an online world. The problem with the current online RPG system in the West is that they're trying to rush you to endgame so fast, too fast even, that you don't even have time to learn the game properly or become engrossed into the world. From a roleplay perspective, it's not making you feel invested into the world or your given class, when you're given milestones so quickly and easily. But worse, the number one complaint players have about doing in-game content is finding the right group to do it with. That's because, well, the auto queue systems don't select for player skill, so you will oftentimes be matched up with completely random players. Due to this aforementioned problem, these players aren't very good, but more importantly, they haven't even been taught, so it's not their fault they're not good. With the death of the early game leveling experience, you have a funneling issue at the in-game content, where the majority of players can't even dream of doing the harder end content. But more than just learning, you don't get the enjoyment of an early game experience, which is special in itself. Level boosting not only leaves you worse for wear in terms of skill, they oftentimes are skipping the early game experiences that are one of a kind in online RPGs. Because players are so conditioned for this, however, in the market currently, it creates a problem where players are used to just early game experiences being trivial or sucking. So they almost want to buy a level boost, and they almost don't even see logically reasons to not. Ideally, they wouldn't want to pay, of course, but this is where the supply and demand is created. Developers know that the early game experiences suck, and to put very bluntly, they don't want to put any work into them, so they allow players to just purchase their way past this problem, a problem that they created themselves. Most online RPGs don't even start with a level boost. The level boost comes after a few expansions have been released. In a sense, it can't be helped that the more recent expansions and content are going to be better, right? However, instead of developers finding a way to integrate that into the leveling experience originally, or continue to update it period, many of them would rather just have you purchase your way past that problem, so they don't have to solve it. And therein lies the problem of paid level boosting. You might say, yeah, well, I already made a character and I don't want to have to go through it again, but the problem is that you're letting developers give you, and more importantly, new players, a subpar experience to funnel them to the end, where they not only can do the in-game content, they can be monetized even more. Sure, some games can buck this trend. For example, SWTOR has level boosting to get players ready for the in-game content. However, the best part of the game, inarguably the 1 to 50 experience. However, the problem arises that in that 1 to 50 experience, it's so easy now, with no difficulty options that, well, incentivize a player to do anything other than just purchasing a boost. But it's impossible not to see in nearly every instance of a game that utilizes a level boost that you pay for that the developers are offering such because they want to band-aid fix problems in their game. What's worse is not only the aforementioned issues caused by level boosting or part of the situation, there's also the whole idea of just the world losing its worldliness. What I mean by that is that when you have players skipping entire portions of your game, you have other players who didn't skip it, suffering from not only a subpar experience, but a very lonely one at that. You make your world less of a world by including such paid level boosting, because you allow people to skip the journey of living through said world. So while I might be okay with level boosting in some very specific instances, the majority of instances they offer direct negatives that I don't think are worth it for anyone, not the people benefiting from the money that's generated. I tell all of my friends who ask about level boosting to just take their time and level their characters organically, to get a way better understanding of the game. But what are some of your opinions about paid level boosting? Do you think that they're just band-aid fixes developers are charging players for? Do you think that there's a place for them? Let me know that and more in the comments below, and stay tuned for more editorial content. Thanks for watching.